archive it, Bobby?
Correct. Yes, I just started recording and I'll mention that in my announcements for those who are just joining as well. So let's get started. Welcome everyone. My name is Bobby Luster and I'll be your host this evening. On behalf of the Truckee Library, a branch of the Nevada County Library where I serve as branch manager, I welcome you to the Night of Ideas. For those of you joining us outside of the Lake Tahoe area, we are in the midst of a blizzard, so we're glad this event is being held virtually so that we're able to still gather. However, as Craig mentioned, the heavy snow and travel conditions, Truckee Tahoe Media will be unable to broadcast our Night of Ideas event live on Channel 6. But the webinar will be recorded. It's currently being recorded right now, and it will be available on Channel 6 as well as online for a later rebroadcast. If anyone joining us this evening has family or friends who are planning on tuning in on the local cable channel, perhaps you could just send them a message and let them know that the only way to participate live this evening is through the Zoom webinar link. If anybody needs that, we can get that to you in chat after I make my opening remarks. So with that housekeeping note behind us, I'd like to welcome you to the Night of Ideas. The theme for this year's 24-hour virtual marathon event featuring philosophical debate and artistic performances in 75 countries around the world is Closing the Distance. Our local event will feature first-generation and undergraduate scholars from our local career and college readiness group called La Fuerza Latina. They will share how they are closing the distance between their rural immigrant upbringing and accessing broader professional careers. We will also hear from the group's advisor, Craig Rowe, who is an amazing leader for these scholars. He's an inspiration to me personally, and I'm proud to be able to be working with him again and La Fuerza Latina again. In the fall, the scholars, many of who you're going to hear from tonight, were an integral part of a video the Truckee Library produced called A Room for Equality, Latinx in the Library, as well as helped put on a drive-in movie and trunk or treat event that celebrated Truckee's Latinx community. The program was part of a Library Innovation Lab grant from California Humanities. The Truckee Library was one of 10 in California to receive that grant. We are once again blessed to be receiving support from California Humanities to make this event happen tonight. We are so appreciative of the invite as well as the financial support they are providing to our group to make this webinar happen. We'd also like to thank and recognize the National Endowment for Humanities for their support as well. Our event from Truckee is just one of three, let me get to the next slide here, one of 3 Night of Ideas events happening in California with the support of California Humanities. The other events that are taking place are in San Francisco and in Tulare County, which is also a rural area. For those of you who don't know, if anybody wants to check out the site to see all the places around the world and in the United States of the events that are happening today, January 28th, I've put the link directly, or not the link, the website, nightofideas.org, so you can go ahead and check that out at your convenience, or feel free to check it out later. So without further delay, I'd like to get started with our speakers. Our program will feature 18 presenters. We have 2 different styles of presentations. The first is an adaptation of a concept called Pekakucha, in which a speaker will show one slide with an image or images and speak to that slide for 30 seconds. Those speakers will tell their stories in 10 slides for a total of a 5-minute presentation. The second type of presentation is in the form of interludes between the 5-minute presentations, where a scholar will share a 1 to 2 minute poem, artwork, or a piece of music. Before I introduce our first presenter, I'd also like to ask you to participate in our group chat, as many of you just did with sharing where you're coming from. If you're just joining us now, please put in the chat where you're coming from. As this is a national global event, we'd love to see where people are reaching us from. But what I want to say about the chat is it's really encouraging to presenters because we can't look people in the face and see people nodding and agreeing and things like that. So please participate in the chat, say, great point, wow, that's amazing. You're an inspiration. Look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you for being a leader. We would love to continue that conversation on through the evening and support these scholars who are putting themselves out there tonight. So with that, we're going to get started. And our first speaker is, and here's the lineup of speakers for the evening. We'll be referring back to this after each one, but our first speaker is Estefania. And I am going to go ahead and present her slides. Estefania, are you ready? I'll go ahead and start them when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Estefania Morales. I was born here in Truckee, and ever since I was little, I had the pressure of being one of the best students just because growing up, I have a sister who graduated and was the first one to graduate in my family, and my family really pressured me to be just like her. And my sister was a genius with math. I always thought that people are born with this math ability and that you can't really change that. And I was also a really shy person back then. I didn't have an inner voice. I was not confident at all. And one of my first steps into gaining that confidence was me joining Truckee Town Council, where we hope to find affordable housing for the citizens here in Truckee. And it was pretty cool because it kind of helped me realize and establish this connection with Truckee, something that I didn't have before. And I really felt like a sense of importance because I was actually doing something for my community. And I felt extremely happy to be a part of that. And it kind of also helped me become more oh, there we go. Okay. And then the next step was me joining Model United Nations. At first, when I went to the first meeting at UC Davis, I was quite intimidated as everyone was urging to say what they wanted to say. Everyone was holding up their pamphlets. And unfortunately, I didn't speak because I was extremely shy and I didn't feel that prepared. But it was because I also didn't put in a lot of effort because, of course, I was intimidated by all these intellectuals. And something that I did gain out of it was learning how to research papers. And then in the summer of 2019, I went to the University of Indiana, Bloomington, where I met these amazing people, and it was a biology program. And something that I did take out of this was to receive the maximum, you have to put in the maximum. And that really carried with me throughout my whole 2 years of high school, junior and senior year. And it really motivated me and pushed me forward to become a better version of myself. And someone who was very shy and wouldn't do anything spontaneous, I applied to my local Rotary's foreign exchange and I got accepted to go to Italy. And it was quite surprising. Everyone was like, oh, you're going to move over to Italy for a whole year with people you don't even know and a family you don't even know. But honestly, I was super excited because I wanted to put myself into that uncomfortable situation. And again, if you want to receive the maximum, you have to put in the maximum. So I decided to step out of my comfort zone. Then something that helped me really find my inner voice was my pre-calculus class. I used to not like math, but after I took that class, it really helped me find my inner voice. And that's when I reached out to Minda Harts, the famous author of The Memo, and Nina Shaw, a famous Hollywood attorney down in LA. And I emailed them and we had a Google Meet with all the LFL kids, and they taught us how what obstacles they went through, and it was really helpful. And then that really motivated me, and I was extremely excited to apply to all of these schools because I gained something throughout those years, like public speaking and really helping my community. And I was super excited to bring that out there to the universe in a bunch of schools. And also I wanted in return was to learn and help me become better at those skills and acquire more. And then with that, we all helped create these little bags with candies to give out to the little kids at the drive-in movie theater where we played Coco. And then I also remember making the masks with my mom. We would stay up and spend countless hours making those masks. And I remember I felt a sense of sympathy and I really felt united with community, and it felt really nice to contribute to it. And then something that I did really look forward to was my acceptance to Tufts University, because it really showed me that I did put in all the effort that I needed to receive the maximum. And I was super excited because now I can bring these skills over there, and then I can really help other people and kind of share my ideas and perceptions to that school. And then I really hope to learn more things. And I really hope that school gives me like the best future. And overall, I am very happy. And the distance, um, and then the distance between would be me like being very shy, me being very shy, and then me becoming this very like powerful and confident person that I am today.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Great to just hear your story, and so proud of you. I hope you enjoy Boston, and but hopefully don't forget about us out here on the West Coast in Truckee. Come back and see us. All right. So with that, we're going to move on to our interludes, our first interludes of the evening, and our first participant is Zarelli.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zarelli. I am a junior at Sac State, and today I will be reading a poem by Jimmy Santiago Vaca, and it is called I Am Offering This Poem. I'm offering this poem to you since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give you, so it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. It is a scarf for your head to wear over your hair to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it. Treasure this as you would if you were lost, needing direction in the wilderness. Life becomes one mature. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a cabin or Hogan, in dense trees, come knocking, and I will answer, give you directions, and let you warm yourself by this fire. Rest by this fire and make you feel safe. I love you. It's all I have to give and all anyone needs to live, and to go on living inside when the world outside no longer cares if you live or die. Remember, I love you. Thank you for listening.
Wow, thank you, Zarelli. That was awesome. You all have so much to give, and you're in a group that really, really loves you, and I hope you all recognize that. Not just LFL, but the entire Truckee community. I feel strongly that is in fact the truth. Our next interlude is coming from Anthony.
Hey guys, my name's Anthony. I'm a senior here at Truckee High School, and today I'm going to be reading a poem from Jose Olivares called Ars Poetica. Migration is derived from the word migrate, which is a verb defined by Merriam-Webster as move from one country, place, or locality to another. Plot twist: migration never ends. My parents moved from Jalisco, Mexico to Chicago in 1987. They were dislocated from Mexico by capitalism, and they arrived in Chicago just in time to be dislocated by capitalism. Question: is migration possible if there's no other land to arrive in? My work: to imagine. My family started migrating in 1987 and they never stopped. I was born mid-migration. I've made my home in that motion. Let me try again. I tried to become American, but America is toxic. I tried to become Mexican, but Mexico is toxic. My work: to do more than reproduce the toxic stories I inherited and learned. In other words, just because it is art doesn't mean it's inherently nonviolent. My work: to write poems that make my people feel safe, seen, or otherwise loved. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That was great, and your work is very much valued. And we look forward to hearing from some more stories. Let's move on to our next 5-minute presentation. And our next speaker is Brizeth. And I had the pleasure of meeting Brizeth actually over the summer. And she is the individual who introduced me to La Fuerza Latina and to Craig Rowe and Brizeth. I'm so grateful that we were able to connect and establish a relationship. I look forward to hearing your presentation. Oops, sorry, one second.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you too. Well, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Brizeth Castellanos. I'm currently a junior at UC Berkeley. I'm doing a major in sociology and a minor in ecto studies. And well, my story first begins when I start reading what closing the distance means. A lot of words and things came to my mind. Words like family, friends, language, identity, hard work, etc., etc. And I'm gonna explain to you why it all fit together and how it really impacted my life and how I felt like my life has changed. So first, I'm gonna start with my family. The main reason why we moved to United States was because we wanted to be together. So I felt like we wanted to close that distance, like the thousands of miles that separate us. We knew that we were gonna have to start a new life and it was gonna be complicated and challenging, but we felt like it was worth it if we were gonna be together. So I felt like that was my first step when closing the distance. I wanna be with my family. And that's why they were like the first thing that came to my mind. However, I faced like a lot of challenges. I didn't know English at all when I moved here. So school was hard in the beginning because when the professor would ask me like, oh, how are you? Or like, hello, where are you from? I'll be like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. So it took me a while to learn English. I actually learned it by watching Friends with subtitles and singing to movies because I just thought it will help my pronunciation. And I have these amazing professors who helped me like improve my languages, and I was in these classes and it helped me a lot. However, I wasn't very confident because I didn't speak the language, I didn't have a lot of friends. So I decided to work hard to work on my identity and my language skills to reduce that language gap in order to close that distance. And then I met this amazing group of individuals over here. I started making more friends. I started being more confident. They actually helped me improve my English. Like when I will have like a trouble telling something to my professors, they will like help me traduce, translate, etc., etc. So I felt like that's why they're so important. And then on my, I think it was sophomore or junior year, I met Mr. Rowe. He literally changed my life. He allowed me to join La Fuerza Latina, and this girl became more than a family. Like they basically became my family. They made me realize that I could actually do some other stuff, have a really great future if I really work hard for it. They motivate me, they inspire me. And I felt like the gap was actually getting close because I felt like I found my people. I felt that I found people who were actually related to me and who understood me. So I felt like I started to belong in this place. And then thanks to Fuerza Latina, for example, I went to like an Indiana program for business. And I never thought that I was gonna be in Indiana doing a business program when I barely knew that language like 2 years before. So La Fuerza Latina really helped me with that. So I feel like that's why there's such an important part of this, like of my story and how I close the distance. And they not only make me feel like I belong, but they also help me through that college process, which is kind of challenging. And I didn't have any idea of what to do or where to go, etc. And they actually, like I said, they actually inspire me, help me change my life. And then boom, I got accepted to UC Berkeley. I couldn't believe it. In 1,000 of years, I would have imagined that I would get into like one of the top public schools in the world. And I was like, man, if I really work hard for it, I can do whatever I want. But I was scared. I was scared that the gap was gonna open again because I was gonna have to start over again and have new friends. And actually, my roommate in the first year, her culture is Chinese, and my culture is like Latinx and Mexican. So I was like so worried how we're gonna communicate with each other. I was like, man, that's gonna be like impossible. But no, actually, my English improved a lot because like I would speak in English like 100% of the time compared to like in high school what I would speak like half and half Spanish and then half of the time English. So I made more friends. I meet people from all over the world. I was just so amazed and excited to see the group of friends that now I have, because in 1,000 years, I would have imagined that I'll have friends from like Spain, Dubai, Japan, China, India, etc., etc. I was like, man, that's look where I am right now. Like I went from being the new girl without knowing English at all to being in an amazing school like Berkeley, where individuals really want to make a change. And I feel like, I don't know, I got the feeling that I belonging, like I already found my place. And I was just so happy. I was like, I didn't just close that gap when I moved to like United States and when I learned the language, but I also closed it when I joined the Fuerza Latina, when they helped me go to college, when I got accepted to Berkeley, when I went to Indiana, when I started making group like friends from all over the world. So I don't know, I feel like when I read Closing the Distance, all these things came to my mind. And that's why I decided to include all these pictures and all those individuals, because I feel like each one of them have had an impact on my life. So I'm so grateful. I'm currently thinking to get a master's in education, because by looking at Mr. Rowe, to be honest, he inspired me to like help others and like really make a change. And I would just want to help individuals to see that if they work hard for it, if they really want it, they can do and be whatever they want and go to whatever place they want to go. So right now, that's what I want to do. So yeah, I just felt like I closed like the distance in so many ways through my life and so many times. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brizeth. And I find it interesting that as you all are finding these different ways to close the distance, how Brizeth, you're finding these ways to kind of expand yourself and learn other cultures. And it's just kind of an amazing balance there, you know? So awesome, awesome job. Okay, so our next interlude is coming from Marlene. Is that right, Marlena?
Yeah, Marlene.
Thank you.
fine with
Sorry
that.
about that. I'm going to go ahead to your slide.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Marlene Carrillo. I'm a second year at San Diego State University, majoring in political science and minoring in Chicano studies. So today I'm going to be presenting a poem that I personally wrote, and it incorporates me searching for my identity as a Mexican-American woman in the United States. It's titled Fighting with Myself. Who am I? My history consists of colonizing Spaniards stuffing their language into my ancestors, like an empanada, hoping that it won't fall apart. Yet falling apart is not the language of los Aztecas. The distance between the Orgullo Hispano in my heart and the American patriotism is distant. Who am I? The question is asked. I long to close this gap that has separated me from my identity, the identity that ties me to the land of the free, and the identity that brought me to the land of the free. I am excellent at not fitting into either group. Too white for Mexicans because I don't know how to dance. Too Mexican for the whites because my name requires rolling your R's. Sometimes I wonder how these certain aspects complicate my identity. The distance between knowing myself is far, but I know it's possible to find. Possible, like my immigrant parents being able to trek miles through the desert, wondering if their hope will keep them alive. So I guess nothing is impractical. Who am I? I look in the mirror to see my long brown hair, olive skin, big eyes. I look in the mirror to see los Aztecas fighting in mi corazón. Yo sé quién soy. To some, the wall is needed because we consist of rapists and criminals. To others, the wall is broken to see my beating heart. My identity is welded together like my trenza, so tight and impossible to entangle, stubborn as to who I have to be. But it's forgotten that trenzas can, in a sense, be a form of art. The lines on the canvas have now touched. I am art. Yo soy Chicana. Thank you.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. I hope that you're looking at the chat and just seeing just how much people appreciate and see how powerful that was. I mean, literally, they're just like constantly flowing in. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. I'm sorry for being one of those people who couldn't roll their R's to say your name. So forgive me for that. But thanks again for sharing that. What a powerful poem. Just amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead to our next 5-minute presentation. I'm going to head on back to our list of speakers, and Karina Nunez, you'll be up here in just a moment as I get your link to your slides. Karina, you can let me know when you are ready to present, and I'll go ahead and click play.
Okay, I'm ready. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Hi, I'm Karina. For those of you who don't know me, I graduated from Truckee High in 2016, so ways back now. I worked with Mr. Rowe really closely way back in the day, 5 to 6 years ago, and we were kind of his guinea pigs. But yeah, I just graduated from UC Berkeley this past year, and I'm currently working in San Francisco. I'm working with an orthopedic surgeon, working towards my doctorate. But yeah, I'm taking the time right now and the experience I need in order to work towards going to medical school. Do what I love, and I promise you it's coming. Everything that you want is coming. So with that being said, what does closing distance mean to me? I'm taking it back to the bird's eye view of it. With so much uncertainty in the world today, closing distance means a lot of things to many different people. Throughout the course of this year, mainly due to the infamous pandemic, which we all know, there was a lot of gaps in education, career, employment, mental, physical health, and the list continues. And these gaps were inevitable for many, and people can say life-changing for that matter. So because of all the ambiguity in the world and everything that comes along with it, closing the distance for me is on a mental note. A mental gap and discrepancy that many people brush off and ignore because of the capabilities of their title or career path. People think that because of everything they have accomplished or everything they're going to accomplish, that we're not human. And sometimes, given the power surge that we have, we operate like machines and we forget that we too are human, and we forget our mentality goes beyond drive and perseverance. We forget that beyond our marvelous accomplishments lies an individual. Closing distance to me personally meant closing everything that I thought I knew. It meant being vulnerable in situations that may have made me uncomfortable before, and being vulnerable in areas in order to grow further. It meant closing the distance between everything I've accomplished and my mental health personally. Ultimately, it was a time for new beginnings and many closures. Speaking for myself, last year was chaotic. It was catastrophic to say the least, but I faced a lot of loss in every aspect of my life. But that changed a lot of things in my life. During that time, I was caught up in that loss, and I was worried about my life plan and everything I had mentally prepared myself for thus far. I'm such a plan A person, as of so many of you are. And when plan A was taken and then plan B, C, D, I was like, whoa. So I couldn't bear the thought of being lost. And it took me a really long time to switch that mentality and look at life from a different point of view. I had to learn to let go and be free and live in my now. Within my life, I had to learn how to be me and live in my inner being. I had to let go of everything that no longer served me in that moment and obtain new growth, new knowledge, new meaning of life. I had to redirect my light and my power towards different avenues in order to come out of my current known circumstances. I had to blossom in different parts of my life, my being, my mentality, spirituality, heart, presence, energy, aura, literally everything. And it wasn't done alone. So we also need to acknowledge that we don't need to depend on just ourselves, that we also have a community and a loving system. And it's important to understand that we have people and people need people. So I think what it comes down to is closing distance means a lot of things to different people, but I think it's all rooted in the same ideology. I think it means that closing distance between you and your true meaning, your existence, and how that despite your circumstances and your environment, you are closing distance between how you're portrayed in life and how you really feel and that inner satisfaction of yourself. You can achieve like all your life goals and your dreams and aspirations, but that doesn't mean that you'll reach like equilibrium. Closing distance means that you have to find equilibrium between your inner and outer environments and come to terms with the negative that life offers, accept it, and turn it around into opportunity. Turn the positive things and amplify that energy into your own energy. And it's easy for us to run away or to avoid negativity and appears in our lives. But honestly, that just increases all the distance between you and what you're meant to do and what you're meant to be. So with that, it's really important to stay rooted and grounded to the things that are really valuable to you. It is important to maintain equilibrium, not necessarily of the equilibrium that we think we should be, but rather the equilibrium that we should bring to the light. We have the possibility of manifestation and drive through ourselves, and the day that we realize that is a day that we can honestly close the distance between ourselves. So With that being said, I think it's really important and really essential to stay grounded and to the beauty of our mountains. I know that many of us are in similar situations, and we need to use that towards our advantage ultimately. It is important and healthy to learn and grow from one another, to help each other through the gaps. It's important to make sure that you're in equilibrium, but also that everybody else is in your equilibrium and in their equilibrium for that matter. Know that we're all rooted to a similar home and understand that we can use that drive and equilibrium to close the distance within ourselves, and ultimately close the distance among our communities, our foundations, and honestly, everything that we love in our surroundings. But yeah, it was bird's eye view, but that's just, yeah.
Wow, Karina, that was incredible. And I just love the idea of, it applies to everybody, especially in this time of COVID, about thinking about closing the distance within ourselves. That's just powerful. I just respect how resilient you have been through all of this. And I think everyone on this call looks forward to someday soon being able to call you Dr. Nunez. So hopefully that's not too far off. I know you're just kind of starting that path, but that's just amazing. And kudos to you and congrats, and thanks for sharing that story. Okay, with that, we are moving on to an interlude with Arturo.
Sweet.
Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here. Okay, cool. So, hey guys, my name is Arturo Christopher Pacheco Martinez. I'm a senior at North Tahoe High School, and I'm gonna present this poem I wrote. It's about my mom, and closing the distance. Over the years has had a lot to do with my mom. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. I am the ocean, an ocean that is most beautiful when illuminated by the moonlight. I feel the pull of my moon, yet I can't touch her. To some, I am peaceful, calming, warm waves that touch the body with polite kindness. And to others, I am a deafening, uncomfortable roar of chaos. As a boy, my mother floated above my head, like the moon, and masked the problems in our lives with her immense beauty. I'd look up at her and feel all the stars were aligned. Everything was perfect with her holding my hand. She filled my liquid deserts with life and love. Then there was a new moon. The sky went dark. I came home after school and my mom had disappeared. Through her first phone call, she explained that she was at a hospital. She had fallen at work. After telling her how much I hoped she'd get better, we would hang up. But I never understood why she would cry so hard, until I noticed this immense distance between me and my moon. After jail, she was far away, deported across an imaginary line of old hate. Telling me the truth would have torn her apart. I felt the problem she hid from my tides slice into every individual wave like knife into skin. I learned that the roof over my head that she kept so strong had secrets that only she could shove away, but I could not. Hearing her cry through the phone made my tides pound against everything and everyone. People felt my rage and backed away from my shores, retreating to their cities. Those stares polluted my oceans. They convinced me that I was so much less than my mom made me believe. It took a long time, but now I again feel that joy she once filled their house with. I hear my mom's laugh and I feel more happiness than I experienced with close friends. I know I'll see her again, and I await that day more than anyone can imagine. Nobody knows these tears I crave to shed, these words tucked under my tongue. It's said we know more about outer space than what lies underneath the ocean. The same is true for me. I've been so infatuated with wanting my mom next to me that I lost the time to think of myself. I must explore the dark abyss that lies beneath my surface. I'm proud of my pain. I know that my siblings look up to me, and I'll focus on creating a beautiful future for us, filled with meaningful relationships and many opportunities. I won't forget about my moon. I'll seek opportunities to make her proud. I'll make plans to hold her hand again. Close this distance keeping us apart. And I can splash on beaches and show people that I am a beautiful ocean, one that shines with the moonlight that will never ever fade. So
Wow. I'm just speechless. That was just absolutely beautiful. Just you made yourself so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that. It was just amazing. I actually wrote down the line, I love the touch of the moon, but cannot touch it. I think that's just amazing. Just amazing. I don't have any other words, but thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate that. And I hope you know that you have this family here with you for anything. And I think anybody on this call or anybody on the chat listening in would support you in anything that you need. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Our next 5-minute presentation, I'm going to pull up here in just a moment. So Jackie Garcia, you are on deck. And Jackie, if you could let me know when you are ready, I'll go ahead and click play.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can click play.
Actually, could you maybe just speak just a touch louder? And if you could put your camera down just a little bit so we can see your whole face, that would be perfect. Great. All right, here you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Garcia. I'm a senior at Truckee High School, and I come from a family of 5. I have 2 younger siblings who I try my best every day to be their role model and someone to support them. My family is from Durango, Mexico. My mom, Rosa, immigrated from Durango at the age 16 to where she met my dad, Ernesto. My mom is a cake decorator at the Rayleigh's One Market in town, and my dad is the buyer at the Tahoe Forest Hospital. Despite living in a wealthy weekender town, they've both managed to give us a healthy life, an education, and a roof to live under. I live in the small rural mountain town of Truckee, which is largely divided between wealthy weekenders enjoying the surrounding vacation resorts and the sizable service industry Latinx workers like my family. I've lived here for 17 years now, and I've enjoyed the close bond our community has. Living in Truckee has consisted of many open opportunities, like participating in the Night of Ideas. My favorite part of living here is being part of the Latinx community. The Latinx community motivates me, as well as others attending tonight, to keep pushing forward because your color does not matter. To me, closing the distance means closing the gap between what I can do and what my parents can afford, which is why I've been involved in many community activities since I can remember, whether it was coaching the young girls and boys at the rec center or helping organize el Dia de los Muertos event at the Family Resource Center. I enjoy being involved and helping out our community to become a better place. La Fuerza Latina has helped me and sparked a moment in my life that has guided me towards success and involvement in our Latinx community. Although being part of such a close community is comforting in some ways, I understand that to reach my goals for a career in science, I need to lift myself up from the current circumstances. I need to step outside of Truckee. This is why this past summer I applied to the Discovery Med Camp at the University of Auburn and got accepted. But due to COVID, it was moved online. Nevertheless, I was able to accomplish so many hand-on activities. This was a great experience because opportunities like these are far in between locally in Truckee. I also applied to Ag Discovery at Iowa State University, where I was accepted and expected to go for 2 weeks. COVID ruined many opportunities for all of us, but after all, as a first generation student, I was extremely excited about the many opportunities provided by Ag Discovery, even if that meant being at home and sitting behind a screen. After this, I began seeing myself as a healer, not just in some maternal role, but as a future medical professional, applying highly technical skills to help ease suffering. I was later accepted to CLYLP in Sacramento. These were opportunities I will never take for granted, especially given the circumstances which my family and I live under. At COYLP, I found myself improving my leadership skills through intensive seminars with Latinx leaders from all over the country. However, the Latinx leadership roles and skills developed at COYLP were only a starting point on how I could possibly immerse myself in a community of future leaders later in college or even here in the town of Truckee. Applying to the summer college program sort of gave me an insight of what prompts I could be expecting when applying to college my senior year. I applied to many schools where I thought I could grow as an individual away from home, where I could be successful.
As I was going through the admissions process, I started to realize that applying to college was more than just writing essays. It was also looking at those big numbers on the screen, letting you know how much it costs to attend. Involvement in my community and summer programs was not going to be enough to where I wanted to be. After seeing 4 to 5 digit numbers on every college I liked, I started to think maybe I shouldn't attend college. Not because of the difficulty, but because I knew that attending college was going to be expensive for my family. Coming from a low income family, I always knew that paying such money was never going to be easy. But one thing I did know was that I could work myself and help close that distance of money for college to help my parents. I've held the job of being a nanny since my freshman year. I started to work at Rayleigh's this summer and moved on to being a barista at Starbucks. I also know that the money my mom and dad make on top of mine is never going to be enough for college, which is why I've applied for financial aid, whether it was with FAFSA or turning in a CSS profile for the privates. I've also participated in the Rotary Speech Contest, in which I got a cash prize and made it my first saving for college. Other than enjoying the beautiful mountains and long summer days in Truckee, I also enjoy the community. Everyone supports each other. There are many foundations like TTCF who've been generous enough to help many scholars close that distance for school. Overall, I want to be, or I'm thankful for all the endless support my family, friends, and teachers have given me, especially through the very rough times. Nothing has been easy, but nothing is impossible. I've learned that I could do more than just watch my siblings at home. I try my best every day to close the distance between what I can do and what my family can afford. I try to close the distance of where I am and where I hope to be. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, that another great presentation. I'm really glad that you recognize yourself as a role model. I heard that in one of your first remarks because you truly are for this community. And I love, your words kind of mimicking a little bit of Karina Nunez's, that you're accepting, kind of what's happened, but it's not limiting you. You're continuing to push forward. And things like that, and you're going to be an amazing success. So I got one shout out that I want to share with everyone, and that is that Jackie was very instrumental in working with Mr. Rowe to make this night possible. She was getting many of our speakers on board, getting everything together, and Jackie is one of the main reasons that this event is occurring tonight. So Jackie, shout out to you. Thank you for making that happen and taking the time away from work and school to share your stories and get others to share their stories. And then my question is, I saw three admittance letters here, and I'm curious to know, have you decided where you're going?
I haven't yet. I did get accepted to Chico State and to CSU San Marcos. And then I was emailed from Berkeley to turn in letters of recommendation, and I haven't heard from there yet, but we'll see later on this spring.
Excellent. Well, wherever you decide to go, they're going to be very lucky to have you. So congratulations. Okay, well, we're going to go on to another interlude, and I am going to be bringing up an image for our next presenter, Karina Solis. Karina?
Okay. Hello, my name is Karina Solis. I'm a senior at Truckee High School, and I decided to showcase this piece of art that I did back in my sophomore year of high school because I felt like it delivered the message of closing the distance between feeling lost and being insecure. I remember at the beginning of my sophomore year, I felt like I didn't fit the criteria of being a straight A student, and I had really bad habits of not knowing how to study and not knowing how to manage my time correctly. So then I decided that I wanted to change, and that is why there's a lot of symbolism in this art. The tunnel represents a new change and a new perspective, and I knew that I had to change, so I had two choices. I had the choice of giving up and ending up unsatisfied with a job that I didn't want in the future or something like that. So, my other choice was sticking to the path and facing all of life's obstacles. And throughout my journey, I've had several rejections from several programs and stuff like that. So I decided that I was going to overcome all of that. And for example, so I've had very challenging classes, and I feel like that is the way to close the distance, to find new skills and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Karina. And I apologize if I put the image in the wrong way. It made sense to me when I was looking at it this way. But so it's fantastic. And I loved your description of that. That tunnel is kind of haunting in a way, because you don't know what is coming next. So thank you for sharing that piece. We have a second interlude by another Jackie, this time Jackie Campos. And if you'll give me just a moment, I will get to your slide. Yours.
Okay, still working, my speaker. Okay, hi guys. My name is Jackie. I go to Pitzer College, part of the Claremont Colleges. I'm majoring in human biology, pre-med, pre-health track. So yeah, I'll be sharing a poem by Xochitl Morales. It's called Latinoamericanos, the Children of an Oscuro Pasado. Baila conmigo, hips made from the rhythm of merengues and cumbias, samba, swagger, and a pinch of azúcar mixed into my backbone. My first language was Spanish, learned from the sweet stories told by my papi at bedtime. My tongue, a formation of stardust of my heritage, and intertwined galaxies of rolled R's in the Pledge of Allegiance. It was something I would soon forget after I was told it was wrong. Taught a new way to introduce myself, mi nombre es turned to my name is after the girl in my class told me she couldn't understand me. So I was taught to reject the language of my family and to be proud to call myself American over Mexican. Now my Spanish 2 native class seems so goddamn foreign, and I can't seem to remember what comes after Domingo on my pop quiz. I would learn to hate my name, much preferring something like Tiffany, leaving behind my silent TLs and X that sounds like an S because they said it was strange. When I visit my grandmother, all I could do is nod or shake my head because her native language sounds like a tongue twister I can't seem to master. So she reminds me that the colors in my soul and the rhythm of my bones are a blessing, and that I come from the Incas, the Mayas, the Aztecs, los Mexicas, who built an empire nunca imaginado. That we are a children of an oscuro pasado, a mix of pain, sadness, and oppression, but we inherited the strength, we inherit the passion. She reminds me that my name holds the power of the most legendary Aztec princesses who ruled with the grace of the most beautiful flower. So this is for the women that still name their children in Anal, and the men who wake up on Sunday mornings to listen to Vicente Fernandez with their fathers, and families that still pass on recipes of arroz con pollo. Because we are the sons and the daughters, and we hold the stories, the journeys of the remembered, those who walked through deserts, waved through rivers. We wear their legacies on our shoulder with pride, and we do not lose ourselves to broken perceptions, but rise above with the help of our powerful stories, our melodies, our galaxies, porque somos Latinoamericanos, and we will not be forgotten.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. This group will not be forgotten. I love that kind of imagery of colors of my soul. That just has resonated me, and I think it's wonderful to hear the author talk about ways to carry on the culture, and that always stays with you no matter where you go. So thank you so much for sharing that poem. We are going to move on to our next 5-minute presentation. Daniela, I will go ahead and bring your presentation up momentarily.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
And let me know when you're ready and I'll start your presentation.
Okay, you can start now.
Okay.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Paniagua Ruiz, and when I was offered this opportunity to present tonight, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do it on or what closing the distance really meant. I thought of doing education or my path to college, and none of it really spoke to me. After some thought I came up with the idea to do my presentation on my journey with music. Um, Music to many can be seen in different ways. It can speak to an individual through the means of an instrument or the structure of a song or the lyrics. Like, I know most of you might listen to rap, pop, or even classical music, which I kind of doubt it, but I wouldn't judge you for it. Um, and I wasn't really exposed to music ensembles or having an instrument to practice on in a very young age, but I was exposed to traditional Mexican ensembles like mariachis and bandas and some really famous artists like Chalino Sanchez. I was really specifically interested in mariachi bands, not just because of their fancy suits and their hats that I always wanted to wear, but because of the use of a violin. Um, I even begged my mom when I was little to buy me one because I really wanted to play it just because I had such a great passion for it. I never really thought of having a chance to be able to play a violin, let alone in a mariachi band. In the third grade, I was able to join a music program at my elementary school that luckily had a violin. I invested so much time practicing and learning music that I formed a bond with music, and I was able to be in this program up until fifth grade. Here you see a very nervous 8-year-old Daniela ready for her first recital. I don't know why I was so nervous either. And my fifth grade year, I was gifted a violin from one of my teacher's friends that later became my instructor. And I continued to play the violin in middle school band. I was the one exception to play violin because no one else could, and I just had my own. And I went to various festivals, one being in Chico State, and but I wasn't receiving the same satisfaction that I once did when I was younger. Um, in my last 2 years of middle school and my freshman year of high school, I auditioned for a spot in the Youth String Symphony of the Reno Philharmonic Youth Orchestras, and I was offered a spot. I was very excited to go. I got to perform in a big concert hall, the Pioneer Center down in Reno, and it was really fun at first, but began to feel like an imposter within many talented musicians that were younger than me and had positions that were lower than I was. And I started to lose my spark again. I thought maybe high school would help me get closer to closing the distance with music, but in a way, I had a setback. I had to learn a new instrument, which I wasn't too happy about at first, and I wanted to drop the class, but I continued. I slowly became interested in playing the flute and being part of two ensembles, being marching band and wind ensemble. I started to see how music could open new opportunities for me, and I got to take part in two college marching bands with my high school band, one down in UC Berkeley and one down in the University of Nevada, Reno. I got to travel and perform for different groups around the state, all the way from Truckee, California down to San Francisco. In a way, this became its own journey within itself, and it closed once I graduated last year. I am now attending the University of California, Riverside, where I'm seeking a way to close the distance to my childhood dreams. This past quarter, I took a class called Music of Mexico. It was really interesting. I got to learn more about my culture and about the music that I once loved. And I even got to present on my own. It was Mexican polka. Everyone else took mariachi band, so I had to go with one that I knew closest. And one of my TAs actually mentioned that there was a beginning mariachi band ensemble class, which I sadly wasn't able to take last quarter or this quarter because of my schedule. But in my time in being in college, I really hope to close the part of my passion for music and hopefully take this class next quarter. So thank you much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your passion of music with us. It would have been great if you would have been able to play a little bit for us. That would have been amazing. And we hope that you're going to be able to take that mariachi band ensemble very soon. I think that's just awesome. And to know that you were in the Reno Youth Philharmonic at such a young age, that's incredible. Never doubt yourself though. And you picked up another instrument. Just again, just incredible. Thank you for that. We're going to now move to an interlude with Stephanie. Give me just a moment, Stephanie. I will bring up your presentation. Stephanie, ready whenever you are.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Swarovia. I'm a senior at Truckee High, and I'll be reading a small excerpt from the book The Distance Between Us by Reina Grande. Diana began to encourage me to write more. She also gave me other books written by Latina authors such as Isabel Allende, Julia Alvarez, and Laura, Latino writers who were writing about the things I like to write. I began to understand why Diana said I should be a writer. I hadn't been exposed to Chicano/Latino literature before. I had spent too many years reading the wrong kind of books, like Sweet Valley High and Harley Quinn romance novels I got addicted to in high school. I wish I hadn't wasted all those years reading Harley Quinn romances when I could have been reading something more powerful, more meaningful. But I hadn't even known until then that Chicano or Latino literature existed. Those books like The House on Mango Street proved a revelation. There were people out there who understood, who experienced the things that I was going through. Diana planted a seed in me, and through those books, the seed soon began to grow. One day, I heard about a writing competition from the Townsend Press Scholarship Program, and at Diana's encouragement, I decided to enter. I rewrote the personal essay I had written in her class, and with her help, I polished it and made it as good as it could be. Out of 1,000 entries, my essay was the winner. This time, the prize was money, $100. You have to be a good writer, Reinita, Diana would say to me. You have to transfer to a good school. Over and over, she would repeat this chant. If Alvarez, Cisneros, and Viramontes can publish their stories, so can you. Neither Diana nor I could have known that 17 years later, I would be finding myself sitting in Sandra Cisneros' dining room, drinking champagne and eating carrot cake, that I would share a car ride with Julia Alvarez, that I would share the stage with Elena Maria Viramontes at a book reading. I couldn't have known what the future held for me. All I could do back then was allow myself to dream.
Thank you so much. As a librarian, I will say that I love that you chose this book, and just very, very powerful and inspiring, and glad you shared that. And it just gives me a moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, but I believe you also participated in the video that we produced over in the fall, right? The Latinx in the libraries, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and you talked about your connection with public libraries. And again, I just encourage you to go back and listen to that video, because there's a very powerful statement and testament to the power of libraries. But I also wanted to share something else with anyone who's listening and may be interested, and that is that the Truckee Library offers an adult literacy program. We have actually my colleague Cinia, she's attending this evening, and she can be contacted at the library. If anyone you know, for instance, is interested in learning English, improving their English, we do have community resources to make that happen. On the flip side, we are always looking for tutors, a commitment of maybe an hour to a week to help others in your community to improve their English, or perhaps study for a GED exam or anything along those lines. And we work closely with TTUSD in enabling that in the community. So I just wanted to put that plug in there. We are running at about 8 o'clock here and been going on for an hour. Just to manage your expectations, we have 3 more 5-minute presentations, and we have 3 more interludes. So we hope you can stick with us for that, because this is just such a powerful evening, and we'll get continuing moving on here with the other presentations. So our next presenter is Luis, and I am going to go ahead and bring up your presentation here in just a second.
Just so you guys know, my camera's broken, and I'm sorry.
No worries. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Can you go back a slide? That's the second slide.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Thank you. I'm ready.
Great, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Luis Gaitan and I'm currently a freshman at UC Irvine. Here you see my real, actual report cards, starting with middle school on the very left. You can see I wasn't very much of a school person. Next in the middle, you'll see my freshman year one. I did a lot better, but I still did not need where I need to be. Last, you see my senior one. I did the greatest I ever did, although I really didn't really like science. Today, I want to show you that the education has brought me closer to communities that I otherwise would not have met. There's a common misconception that Mexican Americans, often men, would do no better than minimum wage plus tips, or that we would end up as cholos. My brother showed me that there can be a different future for us. He graduated high school and went on to Cuesta College. At the time, college for us was like the bottom of the ocean, unknown and mysterious. Still, seeing his example pushed me to want to go to college. I figured out how to reach to my goal, so I joined two of my very first communities. First with the local Sister City Search Committee, built up of businessmen, bank associates, and local politicians. This one was especially important to me since I am interested in the political field. Next was the Model United Nations Club. This put me with a bunch of students that were similar in the same interests as I was, and put us all together on one college campus, as well as helping us with public speaking. Most school communities are all work and no fun. While learning about business, I met three brilliant businessmen. For a whole weekend, we created a business, and ours was called History. I learned two things that day. I'm not a businessman, and History definitely should have won that competition. Next thing you'll see my boys. These guys were my family and my peers. Coach always pushed us to excel in all of our classes. It was amazing to see that we were catching dubs on and off of the court. This group was the highlight of my academic career. I went across the country to Washington, D.C. with 14 of the brightest Hispanic scholars for Caminos al Futuro. We traveled all over D.C., visiting monuments, talking to representatives, the regular teenage stuff. To this day, we still talk about el chisme going on at our schools. Today, I have reached my goal and I attend UC Irvine as a criminal justice major. But my presentation still isn't over. When I first got accepted, I was scared to fit in since my school had a primarily Asian American population. With the global pandemic going on and distance learning in effect, I felt like a complete outsider. Thankfully, the classes and clubs, I was able to meet a bunch of new people. Bringing it back to my culture, I had no clue I even underestimated the Mexican culture at UC Irvine. I took one single class called Mexico Past and Present, and it unlocked a gateway to my people. I feel most comfortable around these people, and it's great knowing that I'm not the only Mexican American going for a college degree, which is a great win for each of us, but also our heritage, our ancestors, and our younger generations. As many of you know, I have type 1 diabetes. It's a burden, but also has its gifts. Just ask Mr. Rowe how many times he had to let me go to the bathroom. I was just kidding. I was always too scared. Anyways, this class introduced me to tons of people with diabetes or people that know someone who does have diabetes. I feel so much more comfortable knowing that they know what I have to go through or go through it themselves. It gives me another resource to talk to someone on campus when I'm having trouble. Being a criminology major, I've taken two of these classes, C7 and I'm taking C10 right now, although I would not recommend taking C7 with Dalton. At first, I have no one to talk to about the material since the classes were asynchronous. In my C10 class, I decided to join a group chat, and now I have a great feeling knowing I'm not the only one failing the class right now. This group chat is a great tutor resource as well for me. Now you see my greatest community of all. We have you guys. We've shown that even though we have different majors or areas of study, we have got each other. Big thanks to Mr. Rowe, Casey McJunkin, Phyllis McCon, the library, TTCF, and everyone else here. Thank you.
Louise, thank you so much. I'm sure you're probably not failing that class, or it's maybe not quite as bad as it seems at the moment. This too shall pass. But you're going to get through it, I promise. But one thing you said, your brother was a role model to you, and now you are a role model to this community. So thank you for sharing. Okay, our next presenter is Marlene. And in just a moment, I'm going to bring up your image. There you go.
Okay.
Marlene, what do you have to share with
Great.
us?
Well, hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marlene Angeles, and I go to Chico State. I'm a third year, majoring in public relations and a minor in marketing. Today, I will be sharing an original poem with you that came to me after sitting on what closing the distance really meant to me. I know it is interpreted by everyone differently. But mine just reminded me a lot about my self-growth and my personal journey of self-discovery. So this poem is called Layers, or The Search for Wholeness. And I will begin. Born a perfect state, we dodge the bullets fired by life, shots that leave wounds and take bits of us when they fail to miss. As fragments of ourselves float in the abyss, waiting to be reunited, we go through life like a puzzle with missing pieces, incomplete. A dreamer, a creator, often with my head in the clouds, I've learned that the journey of self-discovery, like the weather, is unpredictable. One expects sun and clarity, but sometimes the skies are gray, the fog thick. Some days I take leaps to where I'm meant to be, and other days I stare at the ceiling for hours, uncertain of my purpose. Am I living my truth? Self-doubt holds my hand when I walk down the street, leading me in circles. It's me getting in my own way. Searching for clues in my external world, I've learned growth starts firstly by looking in to the depths of oneself. Don't let yourself be the puzzle that sits on the shelf. Growth can be beautiful and messy, but is necessary. The distance between the woman I'm meant to be and who I am today shortens the more I live my truth. This process, however, requires celebrating the small steps forward, but most importantly, patience for moments of stillness and stagnancy. At the bottom of life's unpromising waters is me, the person most deserving of my love and forgiveness. From my experiences, I've learned the best approach to life is diving in head first. And if there's one thing I want you to remember, it is this. The cocoon you live in, yes, it is comfortable, it is safe, familiar, but you are meant to become a butterfly, to shed the layers that conceal your soul's beauty. Beloved, how will you discover your wings if you don't take that jump? That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. I love that you've continued the theme of looking inside oneself to make those changes, and understanding growth is messy. I hope that you're taking many leaps in your life and headfirst dives, and less days, laying in bed staring at the ceiling. Although those are oftentimes very valuable. So thank you for sharing. Our next presenter is Fatima. Let me go ahead and bring up that presentation.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, your slide is up.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Fatima Gomez and I am a student at California State University, Stanislaus. My poem is called Up to Me by Miss Mo. I cannot be the only one who doesn't have a clue about where I am heading, nor what I am meant to do. But time will not wait for me, and as the days go passing by, one thing I know that I control, it's up to me to try. Thank you.
Thank you. Short and sweet. But it's interesting. I think there's many of us on the call who are quite a bit older than all of you who don't know quite where we're headed. And I think it's kind of the beauty of life that we get to, if we take a risk, we get to try many, many different things. So good luck to you as you figure out your path. And that may take many different, roots, if you will. Our next presenter is Adela. And Adela, let's go ahead and get this presentation up, and you're going to have to let me know if you can hear the audio. Oops.
Sociology and labor studies. Before starting, I wanted to give a trigger warning.
I'm sorry, just didn't mean to stop. Can everybody hear that? Can you give me a thumbs up or?
A little low for the volume.
Okay, let me see if I can adjust the volume here. I'm going to start it again. Bear with me for just a moment.
Hi everyone, my name is Adela Ortiz. My pronouns are she, they. I recently graduated from UCLA where I studied sociology and labor studies. Before starting, I wanted to give a trigger warning. I will be talking about some heavy topics, including child abuse and domestic violence. I wanted to approach the theme of this event of building a distance by discussing mental health. More specifically, I'm going to talk about child culture.
Hello?
Translates to English.
Could you pause it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think what you have to do is when you share your screen, you have to, so I think you can stop sharing the screen really quick.
Okay.
And then share it again. And then at the bottom left corner, it should say share sound. So click that box.
Okay, 1 second. So I'm on this screen and I'm sorry,
If not, I can try presenting. Just I think my Wi-Fi should be okay.
Okay, I apologize. I'm not getting the option to share sound. Let me just look at one more thing. I'm sorry. I'm not unfortunately seeing it in this view. Are you okay?
It's I can just
Is it okay if I start the slides? Okay, I apologize, Adela. I'm very sorry about that.
It's okay. You can just mute the in the icon, just put all the volume down. That way nothing comes up.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's see if that was, oh, the volume is all the way up there. Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so my name is Adela G. Ortiz. My pronouns are she, they. I recently graduated from UCLA where I studied sociology and labor studies. Before starting, I did want to give a trigger warning that I'll be talking about some heavy topics, including child abuse and domestic violence. I wanted to approach the theme of this event, closing the distance, by discussing mental health and the Latinx culture. More specifically, I'm going to talk about La Chancla culture. For those who might not know what La Chancla culture is, it translates to English to mean a sandal or flip-flop. I will begin by talking about the meaning of La Chancla, why it's used, the effects of La Chancla to a child's development, and what can be done differently. So what is chancla culture? La chancla, or some sort of other tool, is frequently used in Latinx families to get children to change their behavior by either threatening or actively using it. In other words, chancla culture is the use of oppressive strategies to manipulate children into behaving. It can be hard to acknowledge that growing up with la chancla culture is harmful, especially if it's so embedded in our family's parenting styles. So throughout generations, it has evolved from this is what's best to we don't know any better. So it's like this perpetuating cycle of harm. Now I want to talk about the effects and of what it truly is, which is child abuse. It is a normalized parenting method of punishment within the Latinx culture. It's seen as an act of love that is reinforced in everyday activities. In the media, we tend to make fun of it, laughing how you or your parents or grandparents have used la chancla, but we are missing the point. La chancla culture is extremely damaging. It impacts our relationships and sense of self. The emotional impacts include a child living in fear, not feeling safe, not being able to be a child, for example, making a mistake and fearing that they will be disciplined with the chancla. It strips down children of emotional safety in their homes, schools, and so on. Children internalize and pay attention to what's happening around them, and children sometimes learn how to check out or disassociate as a defense mechanism when getting the chancla so many times. So it could result in them thinking that it's their fault or something is wrong with them. In the long run, la chancla culture can also create attachment problems in relationships, impacting a person's ability to develop healthy ones throughout their life. Chancla culture also gives into why domestic violence happens, where a person can associate attacks of domestic violence with acts of love and care. Children grow up to think that expressing and receiving love is acceptable through corporal punishment or emotional abuse. In other words, it can set up children to be abusive or receive abuse. It tends to create hypervigilance, such as having reflexes or knowing when the chancla is coming and where to dodge. That makes a child expect something is going to hurt them at all times, causing them to actively look out for ways that they can be hurt in relationships. So it conditions children to constantly be looking out for threats and to expect to get hurt by anyone at any time. When a child doesn't have emotional and physical safety and something is happening within or outside the home, it makes it less likely that a child will feel safe coming to the parental figures for help out of fear that they are going to be disciplined or even blamed. Essentially, La Chancla culture sets up the message of don't tell. It stays only within the family, which creates yet another barrier for a person to heal and address their trauma because it creates confusion to all dimensions of a person's identity. It is a learned behavior so the cycle is prone to continue if it's not dealt with. We could also talk about how this form of discipline through punishment is seen in our schools, which I'm not gonna go into depth due to time, but let me just say that police do not have a place in any part of society, including educational institutions. And I wanna talk about what people can do instead. Violence is not the answer when it comes to raising children. Rather, communication and genuine connection is key. I think that there is more self-awareness with the younger generations. Children should be able to develop as their own person with their own ideas. Parental figures need to understand that the needs of each child are different. For starters, families can start having these kinds of conversations. Friends can seek out resources such as parenting groups, parent support lines, and even be open to counseling and therapy for themselves or in their children, which can be helpful in being a more effective parent because oftentimes the trauma that the parents endure lead them to hurt their children. We need to address the generational trauma and break the cycle by naming the harm that has been caused and questioning and challenging certain traditions and ways of thinking that have been accepted that are actually damaging to our development. This could also mean that parents need to reparent themselves while nurturing their children. I have heard people who grew up with a chancla culture and continue the cycle with their children claim that they turned out to be okay, or that's how their parents did it, or that they deserved it. But it's difficult to see that this type of parenting has caused harm when it's so ingrained in the Latinx culture. Perhaps they did learn to obey, but obedience has been rooted in fear and not in genuine respect and love. I want to invite people to truly engage in reflection and think about their experience with La Chancla culture because parents are typically operating out of their wounds when participating in it. Thank you, and this is all from me.
Adela, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, very, very powerful. The one thing that resonates with me is I believe it was a tweet that you showed on maybe a prior slide that said, if you didn't come from a healthy family, make sure a healthy family comes from you. I think that's incredibly powerful, and it can extend regardless of whether I think you have your own children or not, to extend that to the community to be supportive. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to have our last interlude by Casey McJunkin, and then we're going to round out the evening by a 5-minute presentation by Craig Rowe. Casey, I'm going to bring up your image.
Hi all, my name is Casey McJunkin and I work with Craig Rowe and have the honor of working with these amazing scholars that you've heard from all night. I am inspired by you guys and I'm especially impressed by those of you who wrote your own powerful words tonight. I am not quite so good with words, so I am going to read a passage from Melinda Gates's The Moment of Lift. She particularly focuses on girls, but this relates to everyone, but especially this amazing group of Latinx scholars. Love is the most powerful and underused force for change in the world. You don't hear about it in policy discussions or political debates, but Mother Teresa, Albert Schweitzer, Mohandas Gandhi, Dorothy Day, Desmond Tutu, and Martin Luther King Jr. all did hard-headed, tough-minded work for social justice, and they all put the emphasis on love. It's a mark of our culture's uneasiness with love that political candidates never talk about it as a qualification for holding public office. In my view, love is one of the highest qualifications one can have. As one of my favorite spiritual leaders, Franciscan priest Richard Rohr says, only love can safely handle power. For me, love is the effort to help others flourish, and it often begins with lifting up a person's self-image. I've seen the power of self-image in my colleagues and my classmates, in grade schools and universities, and in the world's greatest companies. I've also seen it in myself. When I was in high school in Dallas, I met with a college guidance counselor I knew who wanted to offer me some advice. After I told her about the schools I was hoping I might attend, she told me I couldn't get into any of them and should scale back my ambition. She said I should focus on going somewhere closer to home. If I had not been surrounded by people who lifted me up, I might have taken her advice and sold myself short. Instead, I stormed out of that talk, furious with her and twice as determined to reach my goals. That wasn't my power. It was the power of the people who had shown me my gifts and wanted me to flourish. That's why I'm so passionate about teachers who can embrace girls and lift them up. They change the course of their students' lives. A girl who is given love and support can start to break the self-image that keeps her down. As she gains self-confidence, she sees she can learn. As she learns, she sees her own gifts. As she develops her gifts, she sees her own power. She can defend her own rights. That is what happens when you offer girls love, not hate. You lift their gaze, they gain their voice.
Wow, Casey, that's amazing. You're getting snaps all over the place. And you know, I can't claim to know you extremely well, although I hope I do get to know you better soon. But I think you kind of just described what you do for all the students of LFL. You find the best in them. You encourage them to go and do hard things and to succeed. And I think that's amazing. So thank you for all that you do, and snaps. All right, our last presenter of the evening is Craig Rowe. Craig, I'm going to tee up your presentation here in just a moment. Craig, are you ready?
Yeah, can I say my thank you now to you, Bobby, and thank you very much, and to our attendees. I know we're a little bit over time, and so I really appreciate 31 attendees, 18 panelists. You know, I've seen that go as high as 55 participants. You know, for a small town up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, I have nothing but love and respect for the time you've invested in this. And thank you very much, Bobby, to putting all this together. And thank you to my scholars for grinding this out all over the place. You've got a lot of things going on, and I appreciate your contributions tonight. I am confident that I'm going to mess this up because I'm so moved and inspired by what I watched. But yeah, Bobby, let's hit it. All right, so they call me Rowe, right? And where I grew up in the East Bay, you could actually on a clear day see Campanile Tower on the campus of UC Berkeley on a clear day. But from the things that I was doing, running around East 14th Street in Hayward, to where I would end up in graduate school at Campanile Tower, the distance between those two things couldn't be farther. The challenge of my life has been closing the distance between who I was and where I wanted to become. I barely graduated high school with a 1.67 and then drifted into Chabot Community College in Hayward, where after a very short period of time, I got kicked out. Because like in everything in my life, I was signing up for classes and quitting. I was signing up for relationships and quitting. I was signing up for jobs and quitting. And I was filling the void that was developing between who I was and where I wanted to be, with all kinds of things to numb it: drugs, alcohol, even the bodies of random strangers' bodies. And people would always, I worked in restaurants for almost 12 years. I was a bartender, a waiter, a line cook, a busboy. I did about everything you could for cheap cash. And people would always tell me, you know, Craig, you can do this. And Craig, you've got so much potential, you can do that. And you've got potential, you can do this. And that was cool at 18, 19 years old, to have all this potential all the time, people telling you about. But potential's not cute at 26. Potential's not cute at 25, right? And I would go home in my restaurant uniform and look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm worth more than minimum wage plus tips. But something inside me kept holding me back from where I wanted to go. Finally, at 26, I packed up everything I owned into an old Ford Fiesta and drove 15 hours north to Seattle, chasing a girl. Didn't work out. And I also got another restaurant job. But I also enrolled for the second time in North Seattle Community College. And I started to close the distance. I started to get closer to the vision I wanted to be in the eyes of a 40-year-old Vietnamese woman who I helped get her first job and put her first resume together. The first time I'd ever helped anybody beside myself. I actually quickly found that once I engaged them in the material that I was being presented in college, I was actually pretty good at it. And I became something of an oddity, something of a novelty as I started to get higher in my education. I got a BA from the University of Washington, a master's degree from UC Santa Barbara, a PhD from UC Berkeley with coursework at Stanford. But as the theory got denser and the libraries got more elaborate, I found a sense of loneliness that wanted to draw me back home. Inside with me, I found it in the voices of some of the poets you've heard tonight, Jimmy Santiago Baca, the desire to reconnect, to become something new, a desire that took me apart all that I was and put me together into all that I was not. I started working with the Medea Project, Theater for Incarceration. But at the same time, I still felt isolated and lonely from connecting with the kind of people where I was from. I never really knew or had any vision for La Fuerza Latina. In fact, back in the day when Karina called it a guinea pig, that was a charitable question. I didn't know what I was doing. All I did know was that these first two scholars, junior year, I was student teaching. They had the same desire that I did to go on the same journey, to close the distance from where they were from into what they wanted to become. I think that's what tonight has been about. And for the first time in my life, I remember distinctly, I asked Karina and Adela to check out and sign up for the SAT, and they actually did it. And I thought to myself, my God, it's time to let go of the old self, Craig. It's time to let go of the self-doubt, and it's time to be serious. People are putting trust in you. Somebody who wasn't trustworthy before, and it gave me a little bit closer to where I wanted to be. I never knew back then, I never dreamed that we'd have 35 scholars spread out all over the country. And I hope some of you will take advantage of these travel abroad programs and soon all over the world. I still, every single day, I wake up and I get these texts from our scholars who says, you know, Mr. Rowe, I'm sorry to bother you with this email. I'm sorry to bother you with this essay. I'm sorry to bother you with this. And I want to say to them, don't you know this is a gift? That text is a gift. Every essay I can help you revise. Every letter I can write. Every program that I can help you get accepted to. It helps me on my journey. It's helped me on the journey that we're on together to close the distance from where we're from to where we want to go. Right now, the difference between the old me and where I am now, I'm not there. I'm not there yet. And a very important mentor to me said something to me that meant a lot. He said, you go to the margins not to make a difference. You go to the margins so that the people at the margin makes you different. We have a kinship with La Fuerza Latina. The difference between the old me and who I am now is I can see it. I can see the person that I want to become. I can see the person that I want to be. And I'm so honored and proud to be a part of La Fuerza Latina. It's a kinship, and that's why they call me Ro.
Craig, thank you so much. Just like every text, every email, every essay that you help write, that is a gift to you. You are a gift to these scholars, to our community. Thank you to you and to Casey for all that you're doing. This is a community effort, and you are growing our community through all of your work. Thank you. So with that, I know we're running over, but I believe we had one hand raised by one of the participants. And if participants here, if speakers still are able to stick around and entertain some questions, maybe we can just ask a couple if that desire exists. Is everybody kind of okay with that? Craig, you all right with that? Thumbs up? All right, great. So Deirdre, I'm going to unmute you if you have a question. If you don't, that's okay too, but I'll go ahead and unmute you now if you do have a question. Deirdre?
I don't really have a question. I'm just really awestruck by the talent and the thoughtfulness of all of the people who have gone through La Fuerza Latina. So thank you very much for doing this. Thank you to the library for sharing it.
Thank you for joining. If anyone else has a question, you can put that in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Yes, we are happy to do it. And we hope that the drive-in movie, we hope this evening tonight, we hope those are just a couple of things. They're the first taste of some of the cultural events that we hope to be able to do with La Fuerza Latina and the Truckee community. Doesn't look like we have any other questions, I don't believe. So I will go ahead and close things out and just once again thank not only our speakers, but our attendees. You've been fantastic. The comments that you have presented and really just propping everybody up are phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, I think maybe only one thing is for sure, perhaps, at least it's something that as I was thinking about this topic that is certain for me is that I think my definition of what it means to close the distance kind of evolves. It changes just in terms of the period of life that I'm in. And for you all who are embarking on college and your careers, that may be kind of true for you as well, maybe not. But again, as you look to close the distance, even as you're moving farther away, don't forget about the peeps in your hometown and continue to strengthen this community. So thanks again for everything, and we hope to see you soon. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for sharing that, Craig. That was so powerful.
All right, thanks you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for showing up. Now back to work. I love you guys. Stay safe out there.
All right, enjoy your day off tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hustling. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate you. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks.
So good to see you guys. Thank you so much, you guys. Appreciate you. I mean it. Your gifts. Your gifts.